what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more?
This is your WWE SmackDown and AEW Rampage recap here for Friday, June 10th, 2022. I am the Solomonster. There I am. What's going on, guys? I hope you're having a great Friday night. I see already some people in the chat paying more attention to the basketball game. I guess there's a basketball game. I hear there's a basketball game going on. Playoffs still in full swing. I can't wait until all this playoff stuff is over. I feel like everybody's paying attention to the playoffs. They're not paying attention to what really matters. Like tonight, for example, we have a new Intercontinental Champion. All hail Volta. Whatever name he goes under. Getting his first taste of singles gold on the WWE main roster. Since his NXT UK title run apparently doesn't count, we'll just pretend that that doesn't exist. But poor Ricochet, I'd like to sit here and tell you that he had this wonderful run as the Intercontinental Champion that we're going to look back on years from now, but we all know that's bullshit. Long live Gunther. New Intercontinental Champion tonight. We also know that next Friday night on SmackDown, the WWE / Universal, I guess they're calling him the Undisputed Champion, Roman Reigns is going to make his return to television. Roman Reigns is going to be back. We haven't seen Roman Reigns in a while. Roman Reigns is not even scheduled anymore for Money in the Bank. I had no idea that when Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, not only did he take Brock's title, he took his schedule as well. Had I known that, I wouldn't have come on the podcast for weeks and weeks and weeks on end talking about how I thought there should be one unified champion. Little did I know he was going to win both belts and then disappear. But tonight, Matt Riddle had a match with Sami Zayn. And if Riddle beat Sami, he would get a Universal WWE Championship match on television next Friday night. But if he lost, he would be banished from SmackDown forever. And I'll give you one guess as to how things turned out in the main event tonight. We also had our first two qualifying matches for the King of the Ring tournament, one for the men, one for the women. One of them was really good. The other one was really not good. And again, I'll let you guess which was which. And we only know one person who's going to Money in the Bank. Even though we had two qualifying matches tonight, we only know one person who's actually going to Money in the Bank. But we had three great matches on SmackDown tonight. They opened strong, they had another really good match in the middle, and they had a really good match in the main event. And so I sit here before you tonight telling you that this tonight was the best SmackDown that I can remember watching in weeks and weeks. I thought tonight's show was good. Not everything on the show was that good, but I thought overall the show was actually pretty enjoyable tonight. What do you know? What do you know? Even a blind man, what was the expression? Not a blind man. A blind squirrel finds a nut. I don't know where I was going with the blind man analogy. A broken clock is right twice a day, right? Sometimes these things just happen. Tonight was one of those nights. I thought SmackDown was a pretty good show on the whole. And even better, we didn't get any shanky dancing tonight. There was no shanky dance. There was no, yeah, I guess it was too early for dancing tonight. It's Friday night. The dancing will come after the stream is over. When the stream is over, it'll be late enough. That's when the dancing begins. So there was no shanky, there was no Jinder Mahal on the show tonight. That made the show even better. There was no Baron Corbin. We didn't have the Corbin and Madcap stuff. No wonder I enjoyed this show more tonight. Over on AEW Rampage, tonight was the in-ring debut of Will Ospreay, former IWGP Heavyweight Champion, making his AEW wrestling debut and losing. Will Ospreay made his AEW debut tonight, and he lost. That was not an outcome that I saw coming. I didn't look at the spoilers. I came into it fresh. I said, all right, Ospreay's in a 6-man tag tonight. First time ever in an AEW ring. He's in there with FTR. Yeah, but he's in there with Trent. I mean, come on, it's Trent. And he lost. That was an interesting decision, to say the least. But I also thought Rampage was a pretty good show, too. So we got 2 good shows to talk about here tonight. Hit that like button. Make sure that you are also subscribed to the channel, because we are less than 100 subscribers away from 69,000. 69K is right around the corner. Any week now, it could happen. But only if you guys hit that sub button if you're not already subscribed. Super chats are open. I'm going to read all of your messages. You know how this works. And I also want to, before we get into anything else, I want to give a shout out to a couple of special guys here on this channel. I want to give a shout out to Derek Kane, who just joined as a Sound Off Legend member. So Derek, I salute you. I hope he's joining us live here tonight. Scotty Mays is also a new channel member. Jesse Cam just re-upped, as did Donnie Don, rejoining as a Legends member for 9 straight months. So there you go. You guys get the big shout out here tonight. I appreciate all your support. We're going to start with SmackDown. You know, the shows were back in their normal order tonight. Because of the playoffs, it's thrown my whole schedule off. We had Rampage at 5:30 in the afternoon. We had Rampage at 7. Then it was back to 10 or 11 or whatever. Tonight, Rampage was back in their normal spot. So instead of starting with Rampage, we started with SmackDown because that's what aired first. SmackDown opened with the first of 2 Money in the Bank qualifying matches here on the show. Drew McIntyre one-on-one against Sheamus. 2 men who are very familiar with each other. We have seen these 2 in the ring many, many, many times before. And pretty much every single time that these 2 were in the ring together one-on-one, they have a very good match or a great match. And tonight was no exception. The announcers were pushing an 85% success rate for past Money in the Bank winners. So for every Baron Corbin and for every Damian Sandow, you have had people like Edge. You have had people like Kane. You have had people, I mean, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, right? Dolph Ziggler the night after WrestleMania. There's been a lot of Money in the Bank winners, Daniel Bryan, who have gone on to cash in and become world champion. So they're really pushing that hard, that whoever wins Money in the Bank, the likelihood is they will go on to become champion in this company. They also stressed that the rules have not changed. The winners get to cash in on the champion anywhere, anytime in the next 12 months. So whatever the hell that was in that commercial that aired all those weeks ago, with Cody Rhodes standing in the middle of an empty Allegiant Stadium, which is going to be empty, by the way. It's going to be empty on that day after all, since they're not even running Allegiant Stadium anymore. But if you remember that commercial that caused all kinds of confusion, when he made mention of the fact that the Money in the Bank winners are going to go on to WrestleMania, or to headline WrestleMania, and it didn't make any sense. Headline WrestleMania. We have a Royal Rumble. You're going to talk about winning a match in July to headline WrestleMania in April. So I still have no idea exactly what the hell they were talking about there, but in case you didn't already know, the rules have not changed. Money in the Bank is still the same as it always is. So before he came through the curtain, McIntyre was confronted by Butch. He grabbed Butch and he tossed him aside so that he can go out to the ring, and Sheamus was over there. He was holding back Butch. Butch accompanied Sheamus to the ring. Michael Cole mentioned that Ridge Holland was not with them because he suffered a knee injury last week and was on the mend. So the way they described this Didn't sound like a storyline injury. It sounded like he may have tweaked his knee and nothing serious, but he may miss a week or two or so before he comes back. So, for all the talk about all these wrestling injuries, I mean, the injuries are just they're piling up on both sides here. McIntyre ended up on the apron, and Sheamus gave him the 10 beats of the Bowdrin that we always see him doing in his matches. McIntyre, though, he gave Sheamus the 10 beats as well. Butch interfered to help Sheamus gain control, and Sheamus hit white noise on the apron. So we went to a break, and we came back. Sheamus used McIntyre's own future shock DDT on him for a near fall. McIntyre came back with Sheamus's white noise off the middle rope for a very close near fall of his own. So they were playing off each other's movesets. Because again, these two guys, they in storyline, right? Remember back during the pandemic era, they were friends. We're going to go get a pint. And then they slowly built the breakup storyline between them. And then they had a gazillion matches together. So they've made it very clear over the years in storyline that these two are or were best friends. They know each other very well. And so here you have Sheamus using Drew's move, Drew's using Sheamus's move, so it kind of plays into that whole thing. McIntyre went for the Claymore kick. Sheamus, though, caught him with a running knee to the face. Sheamus went for the Brogue kick. McIntyre, though, scooped him up into a powerbomb position and went for the jackknife cut, or he powerbombed, and then he went for the jackknife cover. Only got two. Butch got into the ring, but he ran into the Claymore, and Sheamus used that distraction as an opportunity to clothesline McIntyre out of the ring. Sheamus climbed up to the top rope. He took out McIntyre on the floor. They kept on brawling. So they're fighting all over the ringside area, over by the announce desk, over the barricade, by the timekeeper's table. These guys are they're fighting back and forth, paying no mind to the fact that the entire time the referee is counting. Now, this is a Money in the Bank qualifying match. So, you don't get back in the ring, you don't qualify. The referee counted to 10. I believe he counted to 10 because they called it a double disqualification later, but I think it was a double count out. So they both end up getting counted out of the ring. McIntyre picked him up, though, and slammed him onto the announce table, which didn't break. Both guys go flying over the announce desk. It's chaos. They send agents, they send referees. I saw Hurricane Helms was out there. Curtis Axel was out there trying to break this up. And when they came back from the break, the two of them were still fighting all over the ringside area. And again, all the agents and all the referees are trying to keep these two guys apart, and they are not having any luck at all. And they end up brawling over the barricade into the crowd. And finally, they managed to break both of these guys up. So neither man qualifies yet for Money in the Bank. These two, like I said before, these two always have good matches. I thought that tonight was no different. Tonight was no exception. I thought they had a damn good match. And I like the brawl after, too. The way they did the whole brawl and everything is just, two guys trying to beat the hell out of each other. And all these officials are trying to keep them apart. It felt chaotic. I enjoyed this. I thought this was good stuff to open the show tonight. I know some people are going to be upset. How do you open the show with a double DQ and no winner? That didn't bother me so much. It didn't. I'll tell you, one of the reasons it didn't bother me is, first of all, we've seen Sheamus in a gazillion Money in the Bank ladder matches. I can take it or leave it as far as Sheamus being in the match. Looking at the depth on this roster, he probably should be in the match because I don't know if they're going to go with 6 or 8 people. He'll probably end up in there anyway. Drew McIntyre does not need to be in Money in the Bank. Now, they might want him on the show because, look, Roman Reigns apparently ain't going to be on the show. Brock Lesnar ain't going to be on the show. It doesn't look like Charlotte's going to be on the show. There's going to be a lot of names missing from this show. John Cena is coming back 5 days before Money in the Bank, and I'm sure he's going to wrestle, but I would imagine he'll wrestle at SummerSlam, not Money in the Bank on 5 days' notice. If they want, and Cody Rhodes is hurt. So if they want names, Drew McIntyre is a name. I guess if he's not in Money in the Bank, then what else would he be doing? Fact is, though, he's already called his shot. He's already come out and said, Roman, I'm going to be the one to challenge you for your championship at Clash at the Castle in September. So he could win Money in the Bank and use that but he doesn't need Money in the Bank. He can just challenge Roman. He's already challenged him. We already know he's going to get the match. It would be a waste for McIntyre to win Money in the Bank, so then why take up a spot that could go to somebody else? So if McIntyre ends up not being in the Money in the Bank match, I'm okay with that because, again, we already know, completely separate and apart from the briefcase, that he's going to get a title match Labor Day weekend. We already know this. So, again, that didn't bother me so much. They gave us an update on Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes had successful surgery yesterday to repair a completely torn pectoral tendon. It was torn right off the bone. Was watching something on TV before. Somebody was selling ribs. Might have been QVC or something. They have this company. It's based out of, I think, New Orleans. Corky's. And they have, it's beautiful. These like baby back ribs with the barbecue sauce. Like soft meat coming right off the bone. I happened to be watching that earlier. And it made me think of Cody Rhodes when they were talking about coming off the bone. I thought of Cody's pec. Probably the only time in my life that I'll be watching something like that, I'm looking at barbecue. Beautiful barbecue sauce. And it makes me think of Cody Rhodes. But it was completely torn off the bone. And apparently it was a success. Michael Cole said that Cody is going to be out of action for 9 months. He didn't say up to 9 months. He didn't say he could potentially be out for 9 months. He flat out said that he's going to be out of action for 9 months. 9 months would be worst case scenario. Cody Rhodes is not going to be out for 9 months. There is no way that Cody Rhodes is missing the Royal Rumble. If Cody has to drag himself to the ring like he did at Hell in a Cell, he will be in that Royal Rumble match in January. In January would put it right around 6 or 7 months. That's around the amount of time I expect him to miss. I don't think he has the mutant healing powers of John Cena. I don't know if, offhand, if the Cena pec tear was less serious or as serious as Cody's. I thought Cena also had a complete tear, not a partial one, but it was so long ago, I don't remember the specifics of it. But John Cena is a freak. You know, tearing his pec in October and coming back and winning the Royal Rumble in January, I mean, that's just something that shouldn't happen. So I don't think Cody is going to be back quite that soon. I don't know where these people on social media, I see people posting under Brandy. Brandy gave an update on Cody. WWE posted an update on Cody. And I see these tweets from these people. Boy, I hope he'll be at Money in the Bank. I'm like, what are you fucking people smoking? Money in the Bank. It's 3 weeks away. What's wrong with these people? Why, because Cody came out on TV on Monday and teased going after the briefcase? He ain't going to be at Money in the Bank. It's like Tony Khan putting Jeff Hardy in a ladder match on Dynamite next week. What are you trying to do to this guy? Do you want his career to just end? Cody will be back for the Royal Rumble. I don't buy this 9 months bullshit. That's just so it's more impressive when he shows up at the Rumble earlier than expected. But good to know that Cody's surgery went well. That's right. You know, Mengetsu in the chat. You know what? You're right. You got it right. It's a work. I have to admit I was wrong. Cody, it was all a work. It was all a work. Cody's going to be back at Money in the Bank. He'll be cashing in that briefcase. You're right. From SmackDown to Monday Night Raw and back to SmackDown, we had the in-ring debut, the return tonight of Lacey Evans in a Money in the Bank qualifying match against Xia Li. This was Lacey's first match in over a year, and she was a babyface tonight. Nothing heelish out of her, not even a hint of any kind of heel turn or heel persona. Even though PW Insider and Mike Johnson still insist that internally she is listed on the SmackDown roster as a heel. So it's possible that whatever they're going to do to kind of push her in that direction, maybe it'll happen at Money in the Bank. She'll probably end up being a heel very soon, but there was no sign of that on this show tonight. They did not even give these women 3 minutes. Or maybe they gave them exactly 3 minutes. That's the ceiling. That's as much as they gave them. And those 3 minutes were not very good. Evans took Xia down, used a snapmare followed by a flying uppercut. She did a handstand in the corner into a kind of a bad-looking Bronco Buster. Although, if we're being honest, when does the Bronco Buster really look good? There was no impact on this Bronco Buster, but she gave her a Bronco Buster in the corner. Xia made a brief comeback, got caught with the woman's right. And say what you will about Lacey Evans, and I'm pretty sure I said this during her last run as well. That is a pretty good name for a finishing move. If your finishing move is a right hand, and you are a woman, and you call it the woman's right, that's a pretty clever fucking name. And she caught her pretty good with the woman's right, and that was all she wrote for Xia Li. Lacey Evans qualifies. Remember what I said last week. I'm sorry to Bliss fan. I don't know if Bliss fan's with us tonight. I'm sorry, but Lacey Evans got to be the favorite. The early favorite going into that women's Money in the Bank match. But this was not very good. In the back, Adam Pearce was on the phone, because what else? What else would he be doing if he wasn't having some phone sex conversation with somebody in the back? He's on the phone. Here comes Drew McIntyre. Drew demands to be inserted into the Money in the Bank match. He wants in. Pearce tells him, look, there's too many moving parts for me to just put you in the match right now. And Drew told him, again, put me in the match. And then he walked off. And the same thing happened a few minutes later after the break with Sheamus. Sheamus, and he was there with Butch. He confronted Adam Pearce. He wanted him to rectify the situation. And Pearce said, oh, too many moving parts. Can't make a decision right now. So clearly, they're probably going to end up in a rematch. And I don't mind it. You know, again, Drew and Sheamus, you could always count on them having a good match. But like I said, Drew McIntyre does not need to be in Money in the Bank. I'm sure they're going to want him there. They're going to want him in that match. They're going to want him on that show. If he's not in Money in the Bank, what the hell else would he be doing? But he doesn't need to be in Money in the Bank. This next thing here was just, I don't know what the hell this was about. So they aired a vignette here for the Viking Raiders. They aired a coming soon vignette for the Viking Raiders. Now, I know the Viking Raiders spent a couple of weeks in NXT recently, but the Viking Raiders have been on the SmackDown roster now for months. I didn't know they left. Coming soon. They never even left the show. They've been on the roster this entire time. You would watch this vignette and think they were a brand new team who was never in WWE before. All this footage we saw was from some other promotion. Some brand new tag team is coming in. And unfortunately, there is no level of rebranding that can work for these two. These two, a long time ago, were slotted at a very specific level on this show, not a very high level. And now they've been around for so long, it's like the Dolph Ziggler syndrome. They've been around for so long, held at a certain level, seen in a certain way. There's nothing they could do with them now that's going to make them any more dominant or any better in the eyes of the fans than they were the last time we saw them. They may try, but it ain't going to work. But I watched this and I just thought to myself, coming soon. What is this? What is this? What is this? How stupid do they think their audience is? We had the SmackDown Women's Champion, Rowdy Ronda Rousey. I'm sure a big favorite of all of you here in the chat. Ronda Rousey was out next for a promo. They also announced that she'll be wrestling Natalya for the championship at Money in the Bank after Natty's win in the six-pack challenge last week. Because they didn't tell us when Natty was going to get her title match. So now we know it will be a Money in the Bank. Ronda took the mic and she cut a very monotone promo. She just starts talking. It's like she's having a conversation with somebody in a cafe somewhere. And she starts talking and calls Natty's sharpshooter a cheap imitation of the one that she learned from her Uncle Brett. I got news for you. All sharpshooters are cheap imitations and knockoffs of Bret Hart these days. So she's talking and not really saying much of anything. All of a sudden, Shotzi Blackheart's music interrupts. It's Shotzi to save the day. Never thought I would say it. Thank God for Shotzi Blackheart. And Shotzi comes out. She tells Rousey to shut up. She said that she doesn't have the experience of Natalya or a killer submission move, but she has aggression and a killer instinct. She said that if Rousey is the champion that she says she is, she wouldn't wait until Money in the Bank for a fight. She said Rousey should face her right now. And Ronda polled the crowd and asked them if Shotzi deserved a title Shotzi. Ha ha ha! And the crowd cheered. I gotta tell you, you watch this segment, Shotzi absolutely smoked Ronda Rousey on the mic. And I'm not even talking so much about the substance of what was being said. It's not even the important part. The way she carried herself, the way she spoke, she blew this woman away. It was night and day. Compare the Ronda Rousey promo, and she's the champion. She's the much bigger star than Shotzi is. Compare the promo that Ronda Rousey cut in that ring to just the way that Shotzi carried herself and spoke as she walked to the ring. Night and day. I thought she smoked this woman on the mic. So we got an impromptu championship contenders match between Rousey and Shotzi, even though I could have sworn Ronda said that she was giving her a title match. I mean, am I wrong here? Didn't she say that she was giving her a title Shotzi? Now, it's possible that Ronda was just saying that because she wanted to know if the fans wanted Shotzi to get a title opportunity, a championship, which is what this was, a championship contenders match. Does she deserve a championship contenders match to win the right to challenge me? That's not what she said. So she made it sound like this was going to be a title match. This was not a title match. Maybe Ronda botched the promo. Ronda gave her way more offense than I would have expected, which was kind of nice to see. Shotzi caught Ronda flush on the side of the head with a kick. It was like a hook kick. She wrecked her right on the side. I mean, they looked great. It probably connected a little too much. And Ronda looked a little woozy after that, so she better hope that's not the case. It looked great, though, to the point where they replayed it twice, including once in slow motion, so you know it was a good kick. It looked good. But Shotzi better pray to the wrestling gods above that she didn't injure this woman, because Ronda looked, like I said, she looked a little woozy after eating that kick. That ain't going to go over too well in the back if she hurts Ronda Rousey. So Ronda took her down after that with a pair of judo throws, powered her up for Piper's Pit, and then put Shotzi in the armbar for the submission win. After the match was over, Ronda was holding her title up in celebration when here comes Natty out of nowhere. Natalya attacks her from behind, puts her in the sharpshooter. She had her locked in the hold for a while, finally let go. Ronda was selling her back. Backstage after the match, they showed Ronda in the trainer's room. She was arguing with the trainer. She was refusing any help. Kayla Braxton was standing outside calling her injuries severe. And she was questioning whether or not Ronda Rousey would even be able to compete at Money in the Bank in 3 weeks. I'm going to venture a guess right now. I know I'm going out on a limb here. I'm venturing a guess. Ronda Rousey, she's going to be okay. She'll be at Money in the Bank. Don't tell anybody. Severely injured. A Natalya sharpshooter severely injured Ronda Rousey. They're going to try. They're going to try. They're going to try to convince you that this is a big match. They're going to try to convince you that Natalya has a shot. She's got as much of a shot as Matt Riddle does against Roman Reigns next week on TV. She's got as much of a shot as Ricochet did in the ring tonight with Walter, which is to say she has no shot whatsoever. But it's their job to convince you and me that she does. This angle here, this didn't do it. Speaking of Mr. Ricochet, it was finally time for Ricochet to walk the plank for his Intercontinental title defense against Gunther. Ludwig Kaiser comes out. He introduces the ring general. Out he comes. They changed Gunther's music again. It had already changed from what it was, the whole Imperium March in NXT. And it wasn't terrible, but again, it sucked that they had to change it in the first place. Now they've gone and they've changed it again. It's the thing I hate the most. It's change in this company for the sake of change. And we see it a lot with music. Like, there's reasons why names change. We get that, right? They want to own everything about you. When it comes to music and stuff, like, they had the whole thing with CFOs a while back. And that was a whole thing, and they tried to get rid of as much of that music as possible. What could the possible explanation be to change this man's music again? It's just so stupid. So dumb. But enough about the music. Fuck the music. The music, you know what? The music is not important. What's important is what happened in the ring in between the ropes when the bell rang. And they had a great match. These two guys went out there and they had a great match. Not a very long one, but they had a great match. Walter chopped the shit out of him ahead of an ad break. Coming out of the break, Ricochet countered a powerbomb into a sunset flip pinfall attempt that got a very close near fall. A little too close. Gunther went for a German suplex. Ricochet landed on his feet. He hit a leaping knee strike. Then he hit the ropes, and Gunther took his head off with a clothesline. He turned this guy inside out. Ricochet went to the top rope and came off. He was attempting, it was either a 450 or I don't think it was the 630. I think he was going for a 450. In any event, he landed on his feet, and Ricochet hit Gunther with a drop kick. It sent Gunther backwards into the corner, but then Gunther, who's a big guy, he comes out of the corner with a shotgun drop kick of his own and sends Ricochet halfway across the ring. Gunther hits the power bomb and the high stack for the pin. 1, 2, 3. And just like that, we have a brand new Intercontinental champion, a champion that we can all be proud of. Walter gets his first taste of main roster gold here on SmackDown tonight. Much like Mustafa Ali in his hometown of Chicago at Hell in a Cell last weekend, ate the pin from Austin Theory, and he was back on Hulu. He was back on the Hulu show this week. That didn't take very long. It took 24 hours for Mustafa Ali to be back on fucking Hulu this week. So too soon shall be Ricochet. Ricochet will be joining him. Maybe they could be a tag team. Maybe Ricochet and Mustafa Ali could be a tag team on Main Event. That is where Ricochet, I'm sure, soon enough, will be headed. For now, though, Walter is the new Intercontinental champion. And to that I say maybe now we can get an Intercontinental title defense on a pay-per-view. Because we have not seen the Intercontinental Championship defended on a pay-per-view, on a premium live event since WrestleMania 37. In case you're keeping score, we had WrestleMania 38 a few months ago. That's how long it's been since that title has been defended and given any kind of respect, any kind of real focus on the show. You'd have to go back to WrestleMania 30. Not even that was a big match, but you'd have to go back to WrestleMania last year. And so you've got SummerSlam coming up in Nashville at the end of next month. Maybe we can actually have an Intercontinental title defense at SummerSlam. Wouldn't that be nice? Even if it's just him and Ricochet again. Whoever it is. Wouldn't that be nice to have the championship defended on one of the big WWE events of the year? And given a little bit of attention. But the question, of course, is against who? As I mentioned Ricochet because I don't know who else it would be against. It's not like they have a lot of good options here. Now, I know, look, you've got Madcap. I don't know what Madcap's going to move on to once he's done with Corbin. Believe it or not, he's not done with Corbin. I'll talk about that after. Could be him. It could be Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods, for the longest time, talked about wanting to be King of the Ring, and he became King of the Ring. But he also has spoken about wanting to be the Intercontinental Champion. I think because he realizes he's the one member of New Day who will never be WWE Champion. But he could be an Intercontinental Champion. So maybe he goes after Gunther. Maybe he can be another victim for Walter. I don't even care who it's against. We've got to get a championship match on the SummerSlam card this year. Yeah, there was a report earlier today that, I think it was from Fightful, that some higher-ups in WWE, people in power on the executive side, have been very impressed by Walter. They're very impressed with him finally moving to the United States, moving his whole life over to the US. He's lost weight, he's toned up, he's gotten himself in the best shape of his life. They're very impressed by that. And supposedly Vince McMahon is also impressed by his in-ring work. What's not to be impressed by? Of course you're impressed. This guy's one of the best in the world. He's been one of the best in the world now for several years. These people live in a bubble, so of course it took them this long to figure that out, even though he's been working for their company in their system for several years now. Only now we're very impressed by Walter. Well, at least they're finally coming around to what the rest of us have known now for a very long time. And it looks like, so far, and I said this with Cody Rhodes too, they were doing the right thing by Cody Rhodes up until the point that he got hurt. He has been booked flawlessly. Well, since Gunther has been called up to the main roster, he hasn't done much. But the way they presented him, he's been undefeated. He's gotten a few wins on TV. Now they put this title on him. This title doesn't mean shit. And it pains me to say that. As somebody who grew up a WWE fan, the Intercontinental title was always a big deal. The Intercontinental title has not been a big deal in years. It goes through these peaks and valleys where they decide to focus on it for a little bit. Seth Rollins had it for a while, 5 years ago, whatever it was, 6 years ago. He had a nice little run with it. Even The Miz, there was a period in, I think, 2016, The Miz and Dolph Ziggler had a feud for the title that I remember being pretty good. So you have these peaks here and there, but by and large, this is not a company that gives a shit about the Intercontinental title. You know, they don't care. It's not a priority for them. So now that he has it, he has to try to make it mean something. Now, he can only do what he can do. It depends on the booking. He's not going to go out there and book himself. That's what these rocket scientists are there for. They're supposed to book him and make him look good and make him look like a monster and make him look like a final boss, this unbeatable guy. So we are now in a situation where the Intercontinental title has been so devalued. Walter, we are now relying on Walter to make the title. It's up to him to hopefully restore in the eyes of the fans some value and relevancy to an irrelevant title in this company. He has to try to breathe some new life back into this thing. And I know he can do it, but only if he gets the support from the people in power. And it's nice to hear, for now, for the time being, that these people in power, all the way up to the boss himself, seem to like the guy. And they finally recognize the talent that he has. Because for years I heard people, the big knock on him was, what's so special about Walter? What's so special? He looks like a regular guy. He's boring. He blah, 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 all this bullshit until they finally watch the guy and then they kind of come around to him, right? So again, he went out. He got himself in the best shape of his life. He goes out there. He's dominant in the ring. When he's got the guys on the ropes and he's got his foot under their chin. When he chops you, you can feel it. You can feel it in your soul. It reverberates throughout your whole fucking body. One chop, one knife-edge chop can make the entire building jump up in unison. Not just anybody can do that. So yeah, he's a special talent, and I'm happy that WWE is finally recognizing it, because I can recognize it, you can recognize it, the other wrestlers can recognize it. Triple H certainly recognized it because he's the one who brought him into the company in NXT. He recognizes it. None of it matters. If Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard and their band of merry misfits, if they don't recognize it, then it doesn't matter. Even they have to recognize what they have in this man. So consider me cautiously optimistic. And before I move on, I want to also just say respect to Ricochet. We make fun of him and Yeah, I make jokes and stuff because I mean his booking has been largely horrendous since he came into the company and got promoted to the main roster. But kudos to him too. You know, he looked great in there, and he always makes his opponents look as good as he can possibly make them look, and in some cases better than they may actually be. The way he bumps around like a madman for them. I would imagine that a lot of guys in that company would love to work with Ricochet if they had to make a list of the top 5 guys they want to get in the ring with. Who's the most fun to work with? He'd probably be on most of their lists because they know he's got to be an easy guy to work with. You know, and a guy like Walter, I mean, Ricochet will bounce off him like a rubber ball, and he'll sell for his shit. He'll get turned inside out on a clothesline. I mean, there's certain things that he can do, and he does it better than most. And still doesn't get the respect, I think, and the credit that he really deserves. He should have been a much bigger star than he's ended up being in this company. But he went out there, and it wasn't just Walter. The two of them went out there, and they had what I thought was a very good match. And I'm glad that this was not a 30-second squash. I thought this might be a total squash. It wasn't. It was a competitive match. It was a good match, but it was the right outcome. I don't want to hear, well, God, you know, they didn't give Ricochet a chance. Well, you know what? There wasn't much for him to work with. It was never going to be a long-term thing. I don't think anybody honestly believed that Ricochet was going to go on to have some kind of long-term, lengthy, wonderful reign as the Intercontinental Champion. Ricochet wasn't doing shit as the champion. He wasn't doing anything to bring any kind of you know, value or prestige to the title because he was never going to be in a position to do so. Walter, he's a different kind of cat. Maybe with him we'll start to see some kind of a change. Now, Sami Zayn was in the back. He was at the gorilla position. He was getting ready to go out for his main event with Matt Riddle. Big stakes on the line here in this match. Paul Heyman walked up. He said that this is the biggest opportunity of Sami's career. Said if Sami wins, he being Heyman, would try to sell him to Roman Reigns as an official member of the Bloodline, not just an honorary member, but an actual member of the Bloodline. But if Sami loses, Heyman just shook his head. He had a sad look on his face and just shook his head. And that spooked Sami because he didn't know what that meant. And he went out to the ring for his match. They also had Michael Cole at ringside tell us, and I saw the video a few days ago. And if you didn't see it, you should definitely find it. It's probably on their YouTube channel. It's on social media. Yeah, it's a nice video about something that John Cena did recently. Cena, I think, was filming a movie, and he found out about this. I think he was a special needs boy. I forgot the kid's name, but he's a big John Cena fan. Anyway, he and his family, he and his mother, they were displaced from the Ukraine by the war that's going on. They had to flee. They had to flee their home in Ukraine. And Cena found out about the kid, and he arranged to go and fly to meet with him because where he was filming his movie, he was about an hour away. When he realized how close he was, he said, "We got to go." And so they had a camera crew, and they got in the plane, and they went. And yeah, again, you could find the video footage online. It was a nice thing. The kid wasn't expecting it, I don't think. And so Cena shows up, and everybody's all happy, and oh my God, it's John Cena, and he's taking pictures with the kid. He's doing the whole "you can't see me" thing, and so anyway, it was a very nice thing, and they showed some highlights of that on TV. But then we got our main event. I'm going to talk more about John Cena on Sunday. We got a lot to talk about on the podcast. Episode 760. Oh, you're not going to want to miss this. Got a lot to get into on Sunday. We're going to talk about Roman Reigns. We're going to talk about John Cena. We're going to talk about Cody. We're going to talk about the Judgment Day. You might be a little surprised by what I have to say about that. Finn Balor and his heel turn. We're going to talk about all that. Apollo Crews back in NXT. But tonight we had Riddle against Sami Zayn. That was our main event. If Riddle loses, he is banned from SmackDown. He is banned from a show that he does not belong on in the first place because he is not a member of the SmackDown roster. Nor is he a tag team champion anymore. Although he was the Raw Tag Team Champion, so he wasn't really meant to be on SmackDown regardless. But I love how the geniuses in this company. I would love to know who came up, what rocket scientist came up with the stipulation that if Riddle loses, he's banned from a show that he's not allowed to be on. Technically, he's not, supposed to be on in the first place. And if he wins, he gets a championship match next Friday on SmackDown against Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman sat in on commentary for this. He was looking jaundiced. I hope that he's doing okay. Perhaps he can go see his physician and get checked out. He was looking very jaundiced on TV tonight. I don't know why they think when they cake on the makeup like that with some of these people, I don't know why they think that's a good idea. So Sammy knocked Riddle off the top rope, down onto the barricade ahead of the final commercial break. And that put him in control. After the break, Riddle got thrown back out to the floor, barely made it back into the ring before the 10 count. Zayn hit a Randy Orton draping DDT to Riddle. Paul Heyman then yelled at him, "Cover him," but he didn't. He was gloating. He was playing to the crowd. Heyman was just losing his mind on commentary. He called him a schmuck. What are you doing? Cover him. Go for the pin. Instead, he set up for the RKO. Riddle, though, he scuttled the attempt. Riddle hit the floating bro onto Zayn on the floor. Back inside, Riddle hit the snap power slam, Randy Orton style. He hit the draping DDT, Randy Orton style. And then he was setting up for the RKO. He jumped up for the RKO, but Sammy caught him, and he ended up jumping basically into a Blue Thunder Bomb for a close near fall. I will always pop for a Blue Thunder Bomb. And we got two of them tonight. We got one on this show and one on the AEW show. I always love me a good Blue Thunder Bomb. We got the blue hue here on SmackDown, right? SmackDown's the blue show. You got the blue in the background. You like how I color coordinate for these shows? We got ourselves two Blue Thunder Bombs here on these wrestling shows tonight. Neither one of which, unfortunately, won the match, but that's neither here nor there. Heyman shouted for Sammy to stay on him, cover him, stay on him. Sammy hit an exploder into the corner. He had Riddle in position for the haluva kick, but as he came in for the kick, here comes Matt Riddle. He catches him with the RKO, and he pins Sami Zayn to earn himself a championship match next Friday night on SmackDown. The Usos attacked Riddle after the match. They threw him out of the ring. I don't know where Nakamura was. Nakamura's a SmackDown guy. He's been teaming lately with Riddle. He was nowhere to be found. So the Usos threw him out of the ring. Riddle, though, recovered. He grabbed, what else? A kendo stick. Brought that into the ring. He started whipping Jimmy and Jay with it. The heels bailed. And methinks that there is going to be a price to be paid by Sami Zayn when it comes to Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. So we are going to get the very first, what I believe to be the very first Roman Reigns title defense since WrestleMania. It is now, we're on the verge of mid-June already. I mean, where does the time go? Roman won those titles 2 months ago. So this is going to be his first championship defense in 2 months since WrestleMania. We're finally going to get to see him, unless they swerve us and we don't get the match after all next week, and then they push it back to Money in the Bank. But again, the latest word is that Roman is off the card. As soon as they moved that show from the bigger stadium into the smaller building, he got pulled. He and Brock Lesnar, whatever plans they had for them at Money in the Bank, they got pulled. And so we're going to get Roman on TV next week, most likely, defending that title as they advertised. Yes, Matt Riddle is not going to win the championship. Anybody they put in the ring right now before SummerSlam, certainly, but before Clash at the Castle, anybody they put in the ring now with Roman Reigns, you could say is predictable. Roman Reigns is not losing that championship before September. Does that mean that we just don't see him on TV? He should never defend his title? Because I got to tell you, I think that's pretty fucking stupid. So I don't have an issue with them doing the match on TV next week. It's going to be a big main event. People are into Matt Riddle. He had them tonight. People like the guy. They loved RK Bro, and they like Riddle. And Riddle right now, he's straddling that line. He's still doing some of the goofy comedy stuff, but he's also been more serious lately, and I like that mix. I think a little bit of both, that's a good balance to have. Because I was a big fan of his work before he ever came to WWE, and he wasn't really doing any goofy comedy stuff. And then, of course, that just became the thing for him to do. And then the RK Bro thing happened. But now he's been kind of straddling that line between both. So it's going to be a big match. But of course, the outcome is not in doubt. Nobody expects Riddle to walk away with the championship. But that doesn't mean you don't do the match. The fact that Roman Reigns hasn't been around is ridiculous. He's the only champion they have. You had 2 titles before. Now you have 1 for the time being, because we know they're going to ununify them. They got a Survivor Series pay-per-view in November, right? You know they love the one night a year, Raw versus SmackDown. They have their title matches, champion against champion. By then, they've got to have 2 champions again, right? So enjoy it while it lasts, but it's been hard to enjoy it when the champion isn't even around. And again, I'll talk more about this on Sunday. I don't want to say any more on that, but look, we got 3 really good matches tonight. The Drew McIntyre Sheamus match was really good. The Gunther Ricochet match was really good. The main event was really good. The finish I thought was excellent. I love that finish where he caught him with that RKO out of nowhere. I thought that was a fucking great finish. So we ended up with 3 really good matches on this show, and that makes this a good show. I don't get to say that very often lately, but tonight, SmackDown was a pretty good show, especially when you compare it to a lot of the other efforts they've given us in recent weeks. This was a good show. There was some good stuff on there. Now, next Friday, we have another match. Beyond Riddle and Roman, they've announced another match. If you thought it was over, and I thought it was over, I naively, foolishly thought that it was over. Silly me. Madcap Moss, 1-on-1 with Happy Corbin. They're gonna go 1-on-1 again next week. See? That's gonna be them next week, and it's gonna be a last laugh match. I don't find any of this funny. Last laugh implies that people have been laughing and having a good time. Are you having a good time watching all of these Happy Corbin Madcap Moss matches? Because I'm not. Is there really a need to drag this out for another fucking match? They didn't explain what that even means. Last laugh match. What does that mean? Is the implication that this is going to be the last match? Because I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So another fucking match between Corbin and Moss next week on the show. I can't. I can't with this anymore. And then Max Dupri, who was supposed to be on the show tonight. Remember, he was going to reveal to us the first member of his faction, the first member of his Maximum Male Models agency. Well, they explained on commentary that he was stuck in Europe. He was having travel issues, and so he was stuck in Europe. But he's going to be on the show next week. I know we promised it to you this week, but take our word for it. He'll be here next week. This time, we really mean it. So he's supposed to be on the show next week telling us who the first member of his group is going to be. Anyway, my trusty remote then took me to TNT for AEW Rampage back in its usual time slot. We started out with Eddie Kingston and Jake Hager in the ring already. Ding, ding, ding. They're throwing bombs at each other. After a break, Hager hit the Vader bomb in the corner for a near fall. They called it the Hager bomb. It's not the Hager bomb. It's the Vader bomb. I will never call it the Hager bomb because that's not what it is. It's the Vader bomb. Kingston came back with an exploder and a Saito suplex for 2. He tried for the spinning back fist, but Hager slammed him down. He applied an ankle lock. Kingston got to the bottom rope to force a break. Hager went for the 10 punches in the corner. Kingston, though, countered out of it with a power bomb and then hit not 1 but 2 spinning back fists to Jake Hager to put him down for the pin. First one rocked him. Second one put him down. This was not one of the better openers that we've seen on Rampage. We have over time seen some hot opening matches on this show. We just had one that just got 5 stars, in fact. Uncle Dave gave it 5 stars in The Observer. The Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. I think that was last week in California. The Bucks' hometown. So we've seen a lot of really hot openers on the show. This was not one of those hot openers. I will say, though, it was nice to see Kingston pick up a rare, it feels rare to me, a rare singles win on one of the 2 main shows. So that was nice to see. In the back, Tony Schiavone was with Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. And Baker had her Owen Hart Foundation belt, the pink belt over her shoulder, beautiful belt. Look at Eagles. Eagles dropping the Butcher and the Blade. Super chats, one of our old school super chats. That one is an old school super chat. The Butcher and the Blade. Thank you, Eagles Lair. I'll be reading your super chat here in a little bit. So she had her Owen Hart Foundation belt over her shoulder. She talked about Toni Storm coming out to save Thunder Rosa on Dynamite Wednesday after her match with Marina Shafir. And she accused her of cutting the line and putting her hands on a title, the one that she, when she handed it back to Rosa, putting her hands on a title that did not belong to her. She said that if anybody is getting that championship next, it is going to be her. No, it is not. But that's what she said. Tonight was the in-ring debut. We actually had 2 in-ring AEW debuts on this show. One that I was really looking forward to in the main event, and then one that I really was not looking forward to, which is what we got next. We got the in-ring debut of Satnam Singh. 7'4", 7'6", whatever he is. Satnam Singh teaming up with Jay Lethal against Davey Vega and Matt Fitchett. I'm sure you're very familiar with the legendary career of Davey Vega. I've heard that he'll be inducted into the Hall of Fame very soon. Can't wait to see that. Singh did not show much here because they didn't give him much to do. Clearly, they were just trying to protect him by not overexposing him. This went 90 seconds. This probably did not need to go longer than that, but he didn't show much of anything here. It's kind of like a superstar squash from 30 years ago. They put the big guy in the ring, he does a couple of moves, bing, bang, boom, and the match is over. He hit a cross-body block coming off the rope, not the top rope, just coming off the ropes. Hit a cross-body block, took out both men. Then he held both men up for Jay Lethal, who was now the legal man, to come in and hit the lethal injection. And that was the end of the match that we had here, the end of this wonderful debut here for Satnam Singh. Singh gave one of the jobbers a spinning border toss after the match. Made me think of Sean Hernandez. All those times that he would do the border toss in TNA, and I watched it and I just hoped. I said, please, let this guy not break his neck. I always think back to that one match or the spot. I think it was Doug Williams. I think Doug Williams may have actually broken his neck taking a botched border toss once. Yeah, I mentioned the Vader bomb earlier, and there's Dr. Scorpio with the there's the dancing Vader. I said the dancing, we're gonna dance after midnight. Peanut butter Vader time. Thank you for the $7, Dr. NXT Scorpio. So then we had this right here. Before the main event, this was my favorite thing on the show. This actually may have been my favorite thing on the show regardless. We had the women. Now, the women's matches on these shows are very hit or miss. And more often than not, they're very much a miss. This was not one of those times. We had Kris Statlander against Red Velvet, who had Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, and Stokely Hathaway with her. Velvet tried to get the jump on Statlander as Statlander was just coming down to the ring. She had not even gotten into the ring yet. And she spotted Velvet coming at her. And she gave Velvet a snap power slam. One of those old Dustin Rhodes snap power slams on the floor. In fact, I've heard, Thunder Rosa's talked about how influential Dustin Rhodes has been behind the scenes with the ladies in AEW. Kind of the way that Fit Finlay, I guess, was for many years with the ladies in WWE. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he had some influence over this. That's his move. That's a move that he made famous in many of his matches late in his career. So she hits her with a snap power slam on the floor. Statlander then gorilla presses Velvet up into the air and dumps her onto the apron. A little bit later on, Statlander had her up for a delayed vertical suplex, but she had her up for so long, Velvet slipped out and delivered a chop block to the knee, heading into the picture-in-picture break. Statlander came back with a blue thunder bomb. There it is, our second one of the night. Got one on Fox and one on TNT. Velvet hit a cutter coming off the middle rope. She caught Statlander's head on the way down. The way Statlander transitioned into her finish here, I thought was very impressive. She basically had Velvet, I think, in like a tombstone pile driver position, and or she, I don't remember what position she had her in initially, but she got her into position for her finish, which is, basically like a tombstone position. And then she just kind of drops down. And she's not calling it the Big Bang Theory anymore. It's got a new name. At least this is the first time I've heard this name used. But she hit her finish. The Friday Night Fever is what they're calling it. And I have to assume because they pretty much dropped all the alien overtones of her gimmick, it's either that or Keith Lee. Because remember, Keith Lee has the BBC. What I mean by that, hey, get your mind out of the gutter, Keith Lee has the Big Bang Catastrophe. So maybe that has something to do with them changing the name. I don't know. But evidently that's the new name of it, the Friday Night Fever. But she hits her finish and she picks up the win. Kiera Hogan attacks Statlander after the bell. Jade Cargill out of the floor gave Statlander a pump kick. Here comes Anna Jay. Anna Jay gets into the ring. She tries to lock on the Queen Slayer sleeper hold on Kiera Hogan. Red Velvet breaks it up. And now here comes Athena. Her music hits and she comes charging down to the ring, but the referees and the agents come out to block her way. They stop her. She never does make it to the ring. Statlander and Velvet had a really good match. I thought they had a pretty damn good match here together. They both looked impressive, but to me, Statlander was the real standout. The repackaging has done her wonders. Dropping the alien stuff, dropping a lot of the goofy stuff and the boop on the nose and all that. She's more serious. She's more aggressive. When I see her out there in the ring, we saw a little bit of that here tonight. Just in her offense in the ring, just this aggression, this level of aggression, this mean streak that wasn't there before. That really kind of shines through now. And so I've been really impressed with her ever since she came back. And I will say what I said before, even going into Double or Nothing. I thought Statlander should have won the Owen Hart tournament. And I stand by that. Coming out of the Owen, she could have been in perfect position to challenge Jade Cargill soon for the TBS title. And I stand by that as well. I know they just brought in Athena. And, they have, it's not, the issue isn't that they don't have any women. The issue is just that the women's division is still kind of a mess. And there's a lot of times on television, they'll barely give them any time, or the fucking picture-in-picture break lasts longer than, it basically takes up the entire match. Then you have the issue that some of the matches just aren't very good. Some of the women's matches in this company are pretty fucking bad. So the women's division is still a work in progress. It's still very much hit or miss. Statlander has been very impressive. And I believe that Kris Statlander should be the one to take the TBS title from Jade Cargill. Maybe it's Athena. Well, then you can have Statlander eventually be the one to take the title from Athena. But I think that it should be Statlander. I think she's earned that spot. I think the people like her. I think that she's been very impressive since she came back. And she's not, some tiny thing that you look at her and you're like, oh, I can't buy her in the ring with Jade Cargill. I could absolutely buy her in the ring with Jade Cargill. And I think the people would get behind Kris Statlander as the TBS champion. So I'm going to stand by that. I think it should be her, but I thought that both women here were very impressive. And then we had the main event. Will Ospreay making his in-ring AEW debut, the leader of the United Empire, tagging with Aussie Open, Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher against FTR and Trent Beretta. Ospreay walked to the ring wearing his Rev Pro heavyweight title around his waist. Would have been nice for Excalibur to say something about it, to acknowledge it, to explain it. I believe, I thought I saw somebody mention the fact that he did, but it was during the picture-in-picture. So if you're watching internationally, if you're in another country and you're watching on Fight TV, I mean, you could chime in and let me know. My understanding is that Excalibur may have made mention of the Rev Pro title. That doesn't do us any good. Because here in the States, if we're watching on TNT, we don't hear shit. It shrinks down to a little box. We have the commercial. I didn't hear any mention of Rev Pro. The guy walked to the ring in the main event of your show wearing a championship that nobody, you have to assume, let's assume that nobody has ever laid eyes on before. You could at least explain what the fuck it is. They didn't do that. And if they did it during the break, then they shouldn't have done it during the break. They should have done it during his entrance as he was walking to the ring when the camera had a full shot of the fucking Rev Pro belt around his waist. As if we don't have enough belts on this show. I'm watching him walk to the ring with a Rev Pro belt. We had Britt Baker in the back with her Owen Hart belt, which apparently is not being defended. They're introducing a new All-Atlantic Championship belt, which is really completely unnecessary. We had Jade Cargill at ringside tonight. She's got the TBS title. But Britt Baker, who was in the back holding the Owen Hart title, was complaining about Toni Storm, who was holding the AEW Women's World title on Wednesday when she handed it back to the champion, Thunder Rosa. Okay, we had FTR come out here in this match with their Ring of Honor tag team titles. Don't forget the ROH belts. I'm confused. And don't forget also FTR, they're also the AAA tag team champions, although they didn't have their AAA tag belts here. They only had the ROH belts here on this show. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor. He doesn't own AAA. So the Ring of Honor belts get airtime, not the AAA belts. AAA belts get shown here and there in like backstage segments. So Trent caught Ospreay with an Asai moonsault, and on the landing, he was favoring his ankle, acting like he may have rolled it. This was all part of the story of the match. They ended up working over his leg. They went to the final break. United Empire were isolating Beretta on their side of the ring. After the break, Fletcher came charging into the corner with a running drop kick, but Trent moved and Fletcher crashed and burned. He hit the turnbuckles and then he hit the mat. Trent made the tag to Dax Harwood, who came in, snap suplexes to both members of Aussie Open. Dax suplexed one of them onto his partner and delivered a short arm clothesline to Ospreay when he came in. Wheeler tagged in. Harwood hit a German suplex to Fletcher. Wheeler then dove in for the jackknife pin for a very close near fall. It was a springboard 450 by Ospreay to Wheeler off the ropes. Had the match won, but Beretta on one leg comes into the ring, limps over, and breaks up the fall. We got to see a Will Ospreay Oscutter to cash Wheeler. Wheeler, though, kicked out. That surprised me. I didn't expect Wheeler to kick out of the Oscutter. Beretta got tagged in on one leg. He took down Fletcher. Ospreay wiped out FTR on the floor with a crossbody. But inside the ring, Beretta finished off Fletcher with the strong zero to win it for Team AEW. Or would it be Team ROH? I don't know. Because, again, he was teaming with the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So I guess it would be Team AEW. But I'm not entirely sure. I guess maybe you could call them Team AEW ROH. Kind of like when WWE brought back ECW, they called it WWECW. Maybe you just sort of combine, you fuse them together, I guess. But they pick up the win. I cannot believe that they brought in Will Ospreay, and he lost in his very first match. Now, when they brought in Jay White, I think it was Trent, if I remember correctly. I think it was on Rampage, on this very show. I think it was Trent Beretta against Jay White. And I'm almost positive Jay White won that match. So I figured this would follow the same blueprint. You know, FTR's in there, but Beretta's in there because he's going to take the losing fall. He's the fall guy. He didn't pin Ospreay, but Ospreay's team lost. They got beat by Trent. Trent won the match for his team. And the only thing I could think here is maybe it's because we're going to get a different outcome at Forbidden Door. We still don't know what Ospreay is going to be doing. I hope we get a singles match with him. And it could be against Trent. This could be setting up a singles match for Forbidden Door between Will Ospreay and Trent Beretta, for all we know. It's possible they did this with the idea that at Forbidden Door, Ospreay is going to pick up a win. But that was a very, it was a decision. I'll say that. Not a very good one, but it was a decision to make here in this main event to have Ospreay's team lose. But I guess tonight it was Tony Khan putting his guys over. Because maybe they won't be at Forbidden Door. But it was an excellent main event to close out what I thought was a good episode of Rampage. We had a good SmackDown. We had a good Rampage. Can't go wrong there. SmackDown poll. You would never know it looking at the results of this poll. Got 39% thumbs up, 33% thumbs in the middle, and 28% thumbs down. So thumbs up is winning. But I thought that percentage would be higher. Boy, the playoffs must be eaten into things. I can't remember the last time a SmackDown poll had that few votes when I went to go check the results live. Not even 500 votes. 492 votes on this SmackDown poll. Where is everybody? Where the fuck did everybody go? Are they really watching these fucking games? I just think it just feels so dead lately these last few weeks. We got 419 votes in so far on the Rampage poll. That's a lot better. 68.5% thumbs up. And about 20% thumbs in the middle. 11.7% thumbs down. So if you're watching this or listening to the audio of this after the fact, get your ass over to Twitter at Solomonster. Let's get some more votes here in this poll. Mr. Dynamite, I think you're right. Everyone's talking about the Warriors and the Celtics. It's all this NBA stuff. NBA's hot lately. Even the NHL. Got the Rangers in the playoffs. I'm not even a big hockey fan. I've been paying attention to what the Rangers have been doing. So it's like playoff fever when even the guy who doesn't really give two shits about hockey is paying attention to what's going on with hockey. Nobody really cares about wrestling these last few weeks. I can't say that I blame them, given some of the fucking television that we've gotten mainly from WWE. But I'm looking at that. I'm going, where the hell is everybody? Where did they go? How many people we got right now? Yeah, it's lower. It's lower than usual. We still got about almost 800 of you in here with me right now, but it's lower than usual. But I'll tell you what. Let's turn it over to you. Let's turn it over to you and see what you guys are talking about. Questions, comments about the shows tonight, or Money in the Bank, or Forbidden Door. Groovy Goose, $4.99 super chat. Should we call the stage dive where Punk got injured the stage dive of doom? In all seriousness, hope he and Rhodes have good recoveries. Thank you, Solo. You can call it stupid is what you can call it. To think that all of this got screwed up. He had a match lined up with Hiroshi Tanahashi in the main event in his hometown of Chicago, the very same building where he came back and had that epic return in August. Everything, the stage was set. Big championship homecoming for Punk. I still think he'll be on the show. If they have to wheel him in a wheelchair, I think he'll make an appearance. But that one little stage dive, it just screwed everything up. And apparently when they went in to do the surgery, the injuries to the bones in his foot were worse than they expected. Everything was fixed. The surgery was a success. It'll heal properly now, which is why he needed the surgery. They said if he didn't have the surgery, the nature of the break or breaks, it would not have healed properly on its own. He had to have the surgery. Otherwise, he would have had a gimpy foot. But the damage was worse than they expected. So, these people thinking that, CM Punk, he'll be back in a month or two. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Punk, I'm not even sure about All Out in September, if that's the case. So I don't think we should be assuming anything about CM Punk. But we'll see. Food Hive. Was Cody's Hell in a Cell performance legendary? I say yes. It'll be remembered, that's for sure. I mean, the way WWE has built it up, you know, I'm sure it'll go down as one of those iconic, memorable performances. We'll probably look back on it as legendary. I think you need the benefit of time. I think you just got to put some more distance between it. I think if we look back on this a few years down the road, it's gonna kind of be this legendary thing that stands on its own. It's still too fresh in my mind for me to sit here and call it this majorly legendary performance. It was memorable. It was gutsy. It was stupid, but it was gutsy. I think people will look back on it though as being legendary. Food Hive, who needs Ibushi when we have Ospreay? Yeah, especially when he goes out there and loses. Food Hive again, look at this, dropping $4.99. Food Hive's very chatty tonight. Do you think the narrative about the Young Bucks matches has changed over time? They tell more stories in matches now than when they were younger. Yeah, I mean, it depends what the narrative is. There's a lot of narratives when it comes to the Young Bucks. One narrative is that all they do is just, move. They do too many of them. The other narrative is they don't know how to tell a story. Anybody who's watched the Young Bucks, especially their big matches on some of these pay-per-view shows, I think if you are still of the mindset that the Young Bucks don't tell stories, or they can't tell a story, or they don't know how to tell a story, you're not paying attention. You sound like a fool. Now, I think it's legitimate if you don't like their matches because it's just a bunch of moves and it just moves too quickly and the psychology is off. I mean, that's fair in some of their matches. I mean, there's some matches I'll watch of theirs. It does move too fast. And I find myself sitting here going, slow the fuck down. And it does feel like just move after move after move. But you can't say that they've never had matches where they don't tell stories. That's demonstrably false. Like, they absolutely have told stories in their matches. Both of those things can be true. They could throw way too much shit out there and move way too fast, but also tell some good stories. All of these things can be true. All of these things are true. But you cannot sit there and say that the Young Bucks, they don't know how to tell a story in their matches. You sound like an idiot. If you still, after all these years and some of the big matches that they've been in, if you still say that, you are not a very bright person. It's just that simple. You clearly are not paying attention and you're not watching their work. It's the easiest way for you to basically tell me you don't watch the Young Bucks without telling me that you don't watch the Young Bucks. Spicy, dry chicken without flavor. If AEW has the best tag team division in the world, I need to see annual tournaments. Until that happens, New Japan and NXT's tag team division are better. NXT's tag team division is better? Really? Really? With the, 3 teams? Pretty Deadly, the Creeds. What are all the other great teams they have? List them off. List them off. Give me 6 or 7 of them. Maybe I'm missing a few. Lakers Pats. More hard to watch. Cody at Hell in a Cell or Mankind? Royal Rumble 1999. Mankind. I mean, even back then, where chair shots to the head were a weekly occurrence and they sounded really cool and all that, that was uncomfortable to watch. I mean, there was no, guys go in the ring, they pull punches. On chair shots, maybe they get their hand up or they kind of hold back a little bit. There was no holding back. The Rock was just fucking waylaying this guy. And then to find out afterwards that Mick said, you know, he was hot. He had heat with The Rock for a long time after that because of what he did. And even watching it live, you know, it was uncomfortable to watch. I have gone back and watched the match since 99. I mean, I've seen the match again, but not very much. I think maybe I've gone back maybe twice since 99 to rewatch the entire match from start to finish. It's not a match that I get a lot of pleasure going back and watching. And there are matches where they can do stuff to make you feel uncomfortable on purpose, because that's the point, and it's a really good match. This was not one of those matches. This was uncomfortable in a way where it never should have happened. Cody was uncomfortable to watch also because it just looked so terrible. Like, you see that bruise going up his arm, and it looked awful. And every time he would take a bump or he would hit the ropes or he got power bombed into a table in the corner, it was uncomfortable to watch, but in a different way. The Mankind thing was just sick. And it never should have happened. Hyru. Actually, let's not miss Food Hive here. I forgot Food Hive. Food Hive with the $9.99. Do you think that Cody has hit another level as a wrestler since the match with Dustin at Double or Nothing? Because the narrative of 3-star Cody has changed as he has put on 5-star matches, 2 of which are this year. Well, this year alone, he had the ladder match with Sammy Guevara, which was insane. And quite the match for him to go out on in AEW. The match with Rollins at WrestleMania, which was probably the... You know, I enjoyed Becky and Bianca, but I'm probably going to go... You know, it's tough. You could go either way on that. I might go Cody and Seth as the best match of either night of WrestleMania. And then they had another great match of Backlash. They had the Hell in a Cell match, which was, you know, very good at the pay-per-view last weekend. So the body of work that Cody has put together since the match with Dustin at Double or Nothing a few years ago, yeah, it's been some of his best work. Absolutely. He's matured as a performer. He's just a different wrestler. He's a different performer than he was back when he was still in WWE the first time. Hyru with the $5. Rip O'Shea. Rest in peace, O'Shea. Good to see Walter booked strong. WWE should rid the women's tag titles and add a mid-card title where the champion floats between Raw and SmackDown. Why? I mean, they haven't demonstrated that they have any interest in doing that. If they had an interest in doing that, they would have already been doing it with the tag belts and with the world title. Why would they add a mid-card title and have that title float from show to show? It's never going to happen. You're fooling yourself if you think that's going to happen. Shin Akuma, thank you for the $2, Shin. Spicy Dried Chicken. I am happy to see Will Ospreay in action on AEW. Nothing conservative or half-ass about his matches. Take notes, AEW and Tony Khan. Shin Akuma with the 10 spot. Keep giving me inside knowledge from 2000 to 2007. I like how you gave me the info on Kane removing the mask and how the main event of WrestleMania 19 was almost changed. I love the juice. Yeah, I was surprised that there were people who... I heard from people who had no idea that was the case, that it almost was Brock Lesnar and Chris Benoit at WrestleMania 19, and that there was a title match on television a few weeks before WrestleMania. They had a title match on SmackDown. There were people who either forgot or had no idea. So that's one of the things I loved about doing the This Week in History segments. You know, when you do them for a year, you have to stop because you're going to start repeating them. That's why I stopped. But I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but I had a lot of fun doing those segments. And if you want to go back and listen to any of them or all of them, there's a whole playlist on this channel. I organize all of the This Week in History segments, and they're in one long giant playlist here on the YouTube channel. So if you ever want to get some knowledge, because I learned a few things in doing those segments too that I didn't know either, definitely go back. Even if you go back every now and then and You want to kill 20 or 30 minutes on your lunch break or something, they're all there. And there's some pretty interesting topics in there too that we covered. Aussie of Steel with $12 super chat. Remember back in 2017 when Roman called John Cena a part-timing bitch? Little awkward now, isn't it? Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah, I'd say so. But you know what? John Cena said the same thing as part of the build to the match with The Rock at WrestleMania 28. And now John Cena is basically, he's in the exact same spot. And he's commented, he's apologized to The Rock for that because he's doing the same thing. He's forging his own path in Hollywood, and he gets to come back every now and then to do something part-time. He has become what The Rock was at that time, So it all kind of comes around in the end. Be careful what you say, because inevitably it'll come back to bite you on the ass. Winter's Paw, thank you for the $5 super chat. After reading Meltzer's ratings, it's kind of funny to think about. If Shane doesn't fuck up the Royal Rumble, we never would have gotten the Cody and Seth trilogy. Well, I, for one, did not miss having a Shane McMahon match on the show this year. What's even funnier is the fact that we're only halfway through this year, and Vince McMahon has gotten rid of both his son and his daughter from the company. We'll talk about the Stephanie McMahon stuff on Sunday as well. Some very interesting developments there. Food High. Soraya Page is all elite. That's right. Paige is on her way out of WWE. Her contract is up next month, and she is not sticking around. Samoan Fan 101, I would take a Bronco Buster from Lacey Evans. I bet you would. Spicy Dried Chicken with the 5. Vince McMahon is probably mad at Shotzi right now for being more over than Ronda Rousey on the mic. He should have Shotzi give her some lessons on how to deliver her lines on the microphone. I thought Shotzi, she fucking mopped the floor with this woman. When she came out, she sounded like a star. Ronda Rousey sounded like a spectator on the microphone. I mean, you're the champion. Come on, you got to talk like one. Dr. Scorpio, Gunther winning made up for Ronda's bad promo. Samoan Fan, Walter will lose the title to Shanky next week. I'm starting to really dislike you, Samoan Fan. You keep putting these thoughts out there in the atmosphere. Something bad is bound to happen. Joseph Brooks, $9.99. As bad as it was, would you call Goldberg's first run in WWE a complete failure? He beat Rock in his first match. He was undefeated until SummerSlam, and he did eventually win the world title. No, it was not a complete failure. No, I wouldn't call it a complete failure. There were missteps along the way. There were things I wouldn't have done. I would have had him win in that Elimination Chamber match and not get pinned off a fucking sledgehammer shot. And he would have held that title a little bit longer, but he did. It's not like he didn't accomplish anything. I mean, he accomplished quite a bit in that 1 year that he was in the company. And he got his fill. He had seen enough, and he left. And he didn't come back for another 15 years. Or 12 years. Lakers Pats, QT Marshall, more like Cutie Marshall. Get it? Thank you, Lakers Pats. Near. What's going on, Near? Near is in the chat where he was 37 minutes ago. I hope you're doing well, Near. Yeah, he shouts out everybody in the chat. Eagles Lair, $25. Sasha Banks on stage with Steve Aoki last night. This is the first clips people have seen of her since she walked out. All wrestling media outlets and even already have gotten clips of her partying with Snoop Dogg. There were clips of her at a Steve Aoki concert a couple of weeks ago, or like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Was this another concert, or are you talking about the previous one that she was at? Maybe she's just hitting the concert circuit. You know, she's hitting all these different places. Maybe she'll pop up at a Paul Oakenfold concert one of these weeks. I'd love to go myself. I've never been. Samoan fan, is Max Dupri related to French tickle Rene Dupri? No, he is not. Bill Baggins became a sound-off legend. All hail the legend of Bill Baggins, not to be confused with Bilbo Baggins. Thank you, Bill. Love you, brother. Appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Dr. Scorpio, not sure if you knew this, but if you did, I apologize, but they put their entrances exclusive on their YouTube channel for some reason, depending on who is opening Rampage. I was aware of that. Other people may not have been, so it's good that you mentioned that. But yes, I was aware of that. And I do see Near in the chat. So again, good to see Near. GCC 305, $10 super chat. Thank you, GCC. Since Cody and Kenny have been gone from AEW, both Dynamite and Rampage have not been fun for me to watch. But at least I got Solomonster to always keep me updated. Hopefully AEW can get good again. Yeah, I saw Kenny Omega was getting a stem cell treatment, getting various injections in his body. For all these people who think that he's just going to show up at Forbidden Door and wrestle, no, he is not. Maybe he'll be there. Maybe he'll show up for a confrontation, but he ain't wrestling. Let's see. We got spicy dried chicken. I want Private Party free from AEW and join the New Japan side. I see them thriving with any faction they join, increasing their credibility. Yeah, we haven't seen too much of them lately. So, but joining a New Japan faction, I think, is very unlikely. EJ Slamp, how similar was Cody's performance last Sunday to Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14? Looking back at that match, was Shawn in any condition to wrestle that night? Well, was he in any condition to wrestle? He was, in that he was able to go out there and do a lot of his signature stuff, but should he have been in the match? No, and the only reason he got through the match was he was probably all pilled up. You can see it in his eyes. He was all pilled up, I'm sure, for that match. He had ruptured discs in his back. You should not be wrestling. No, you should not be taking the corner turnbuckle bump like he did. No, absolutely not. And the match wasn't even that good. I thought they had a much better match at the King of the Ring, 97. But again, he went out there and he put on a brave face and he did the best that he could. But should he have been there? Should he have been allowed to go out there like that? No, but that's their WrestleMania main event. What do you do? If Shawn Michaels can't go, what does Vince McMahon do? And he's the champion, mind you. Now, you could have stripped him and had the vacant title on the line, and what do you do then? Steve Austin against who for the championship? I don't know. You turn it into a triple threat with Undertaker and Kane. I mean, they had their own story going. I wouldn't do that. They didn't really have a lot of good options. They really needed Shawn to be in that match. KGBLK 24, buy or sell on the better trilogy with Seth Rollins, Edge or Cody Rhodes? Edge and Rollins had some really good matches, and their Hell in a Cell match was excellent. I think, man, they're so similar. Right down to the Hell in a Cell stipulation being the very last match. I think of the two, I probably would go with Edge and Seth. As good as Cody and Seth was, I think Edge and Seth may have, no pun intended, may have just edged them out. Red Emissary of Darkness, there is a worrying trend of people trying to work injured and really needing medical attention. For example, Cody, Omega, Cole. Punk was smart to get surgery. I think Punk realized when he slipped on the springboard in his match, you could tell he was off. It wasn't just the springboard. He threw a drop kick that missed, and he looked like he was hurt. I think he just realized he couldn't wrestle like that. He was going to keep fucking moves up. He was going to make himself look bad. And again, there's always the potential to injure your opponent. If you've got a bum wheel, or you got a bad arm, or in the case of Cody, everybody who was talking about, oh, he can't injure it any worse. It was a complete tear. He couldn't have hurt it any worse. If he can tolerate the pain, let him wrestle. Yeah, but he still has a serious injury affecting his arm and his shoulder. So if he was to try something, a slam or something on his opponent, who's to say he doesn't drop the person? You really want to take that chance by putting a guy in the ring knowingly who has a serious injury like that? You're not just worrying about him. He's in there with somebody else. There's an insane amount of trust that has to go into that. But yeah, look, Omega worked almost his entire year as champion hurt. He had the cupping marks all over his back. You could tell like he was having these treatments done. But with him, it was a bunch of... The difference is with Omega, it was a bunch of nagging injuries. And I think he had a hernia too, but it was a bunch of nagging things. It wasn't a muscle that was totally torn off the bone. It wasn't a severe concussion. It was, there are varying levels of injuries. Look, at a perfect world, every wrestler would be 100%. And if they're anything less, they would take the time to stay out of the ring and heal up. That's not how the wrestling business works. That's not how sports works. Basketball players, football players, baseball players, they're always banged up. They're always hurt. But there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. And I've heard a lot of athletes say that. And it's no different in wrestling. You can work hurt in wrestling. Every wrestler is hurt. Okay? Every single wrestler is hurt. They're hurt to varying degrees. But there is a difference between hurt and injured. And I think that's the difference. And like you said, there's this trend developing of people who are injured, who probably should not be in the ring, who are in the ring anyway. I agree with you on that. But you got to remember that Kenny Omega, he might be, that's a little bit different, I think. Or you'll find other wrestlers who, again, they may have had they banged something, they had some kind of knee issue or an arm issue or something. They have it all wrapped up, but they're hurt, but they're not injured. Nothing is torn, nothing is broken. You can't have every wrestler on your roster is never going to be 100%. It's impossible. There's never been an era of wrestling, and there never will be, where you have a roster where everybody is 100%. It doesn't work that way. There's a difference between hurt and injury. Marcus Metcalf. Statlander is the best worker of the AEW OG. She can work with any woman in any style. I like the idea of Tony and Britt having a program while Rosa faces Miyu. Groovy Goose. WWE, where the part-timers play. Feels that way, doesn't it? Sure feels that way. Samoan fan, LOL, sorry, I just have no trust in WWE. And you would not be wrong. I don't blame you for that. I was putting over Gunther earlier. Do I have faith that they're going to follow through? And 6 months from now, I'll still be sitting here singing their praises? No. I'd like to be wrong. But they have not earned that goodwill with me. They've squandered all of that goodwill. Darth Panic gives Nick Khan in line to take over WWE. Shane is exiled. Triple H's position and power have been revoked. Now Stephanie taking a, quote, leave of absence. Well, Nick Khan is Vince McMahon's new son now. He's his new favorite son. But no, as far as taking over WWE, Vince McMahon is, I think he's going to hold on to it until he's dead, and he's never going to die. So the answer is no. Paul Heyman, what's the next page in the chapter of Sarai? Not your best work, but work on that. I know you're capable of better. It's not your best work. Thank you, Paul Heyman. Spicy Dried Chicken, my bold prediction, Omega will not wrestle in 2022. I don't think that's all that bold. I think he will. But if he doesn't, you know what? I mean, he had so many injuries. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Maybe Revolution, he comes back. But, you know, I still am going to say that he does come back this year. But it wouldn't shock me if you're right, though. He doesn't. Bob the Bill, I mean, look, it's not like they don't have enough people to take his spot. I mean, they got more than enough talent on that roster. Bob the Builder, favorite promo package of all time. Mine are Undertaker and Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 26. Rock against Austin WrestleMania 17. Nobody does promo packages like WWE. I agree on that. The two that you named are two of my all-time favorites. The Placebo one for WrestleMania 20. And I love how that song, by the way, is back. Everyone's talking about that Running Up That Hill song now that they had the Kate Bush version of it on the latest season of Stranger Things. Everybody's talking about that song now. There's been so many covers of that song. Oh, God, there's another really good one, too, by Meg. I forgot her name. There's another woman. Her name is Meg something. She's got one of my favorite covers of that song. But the Placebo version of that song, it just worked in that video package so well. Going into WrestleMania 26, that was Shawn's last match. I'm going to ignore Saudi Arabia and pretend that was the last match of his career. So that one would probably be, if it's not number one for me, it's definitely in my top three. Daniel Bryan and the Imagine Dragons one, the Monster one heading into WrestleMania 30, that also is one of the better ones they've ever done. Highway to Hell, SummerSlam 98, always going to be a favorite of mine. So you can't go wrong with any of those. Meg Myers. Thank you, Francisco. Yes. I believe, not Meg Ryan. Meg Myers. It's Meg Myers. Look that up on Spotify. It's a pretty good cover of that song. Simi Valley with the 20. Holy shit. Where'd that come from? Simi Valley, thank you for the 20 spot. Hope you're having a good night, Solomonster. Just joining the stream. Do you buy Cody really being out for 9 months? No. No, that's a worst case scenario. He'll be back for the Royal Rumble. Cody Rhodes is going to win the Royal Rumble. Near, I want to see Statlander against Asuka one day. You know what? You might get it and be the booker. You're not going to get it from them, but you might get it from me. Maybe I'll pick that match tonight. You never know. Food High, $4.99. Since you spoke of barbecue ribs in the beginning, new video for a loaded barbecue ribs potato will be dropping in the morning. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Just search Food High. There it is. You guys know where to go. Show Food Hive some love. Go check out his socials. He's got some good videos up there. And Food Hive says, Stranger Things Season 4 is the greatest. Oh my God. I just finished the first half of the season a few days ago. And that was quite the development there in that last episode. It really ties things together. So now we have to wait a few weeks, Volume 2, because everyone does this now. Everyone does this thing now where they cut the seasons in half. You know, I'm still waiting now on Better Call Saul, the final half of that season. That's the series finale, the last half. Walking Dead is, they cut that into thirds. I think this last third is it. I don't know anymore. So that's about to come to an end. Better Call Saul is coming to an end. Stranger Things, I think they said they're going to do one more season. I think they said there's going to be a season 5. But Volume 2, Season 4, drops on July 1st. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Paul Heyman. You talked him up on last Sunday's podcast, but if W re-signs with Impact, would that be an L? I guess it would be. Thank you, Paul Heyman. Spicy dried chicken without flavor. The Duffer Brothers are all elite. The Duffer Brothers are very rich, I'm sure, is what they are. After this whole thing is done, I think the Duffer Brothers are pretty much set for life. All right, I think I'm all caught up now on your super chats. So let's see. Hey, maybe tonight's the night. Maybe tonight's the night that we pick Statlander and Asuka and the women's be the booker. I usually don't do that well in the women's be the booker. And the two of them are both in there. I can tell you that. Juan Ocampo wants to know in the chat: does Solomonster record or stream hurt? That is the question to ask. No, but I have recorded and streamed injured. So I have done that before. Am I a Jordan Peele fan? Yes, I am. I'm very much looking forward to this new movie of his that's coming out. Remind me again of what the name of it is. I saw there was a teaser trailer many months ago for it. God, what the hell is this movie called? It looked interesting. So whenever that new movie comes out, I definitely want to check it out. Near wants to know, how far do you think the USA goes in the World Cup? Hopefully all the way. I haven't been paying much attention to that, but hopefully they go all the way. Food Hive, watch Statlander against Asuka be the match or be the booker now. Well, now you've jinxed it, so now it's not going to happen. Oh, the new trailer came out today? Oh, nope. I thought people were telling me no, that's the name of the movie. Look at all these messages in the chat saying nope. I'm like, what? What did I say that was wrong? And then I realized that's the name of the fucking movie. Was there a new trailer that came out today? I'll have to check that out. I didn't see that. You know, the other thing I didn't realize, and I guess they just made the announcement in the last couple of days. I saw it today, which is that the... I knew it was coming out. I just didn't know what the release date was going to be. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge game. It's dropping in less than a week on all the major consoles and Steam for PC. So next Thursday it comes out. I'm definitely planning on getting that, and I got to work on the next My Rise for 2K22. But if I buy that, we might be incorporating some new content in not Be the Booker in Sound Off Gamer. If you guys are interested, maybe I'll do a Shredder's Revenge Sound Off Gamer. How's that sound? June 16th, the game drops. I haven't gotten any updates, though, on the Cowabunga collection. I don't think that's coming out until later this year. But it kind of came out of nowhere, the whole release date thing for the Shredder's Revenge. I logged on. I was on Twitter. I go, holy shit, June 16th. That's coming up pretty quick. I'm like, yeah, that's less than a week away. And it's not bad either. I think the game is maybe $25 for Steam. That's not bad. All right, let's do the online co-op with your channel members. You know, if we could figure out a way to work that out, I'm open to that idea. I don't know how that would work, but I'm open to the idea. Could be one of those channel member perks. You never know. You never know. I add perks here and there. Maybe that could be one of them. But all right, let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Yeah, you know, spicy dried chicken, you mentioned something else that's very interesting. All these things are dropping like at around the same time. The Beavis and Butthead have a new movie coming out, but it's on Paramount Plus. So many streaming services. How many streaming services are we supposed to be subscribed to here? But yeah, there's a new Beavis and Butthead movie, full-length movie, coming out on Paramount Plus at the end of this month. I think June 23rd is the date. And also on Paramount Plus, I think they have remastered all of the original episodes of Beavis and Butthead, and I think including the music videos. And they're dropping the full episodes on there as well. That's my understanding. I think around the same time. So if you are a Beavis and Butthead fan, that's something else in these next couple of weeks to look forward to. A lot of good shit, man. A lot of good shit coming out. But anyway, this is Be the Booker, and you guys know the drill if you've been here before, and let's be honest, if you're here right now at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday morning, then you are one of the regulars. But if you are new here, this is where we randomly book a few matches here. We do one with the men, one with the women, and a brand new tag team, Be the Booker, as well, and see what kind of match combinations we can come up with. So let's give this a whirl. We will begin with the male Be the Booker, and we begin with The Miz, who, after watching Raw this Monday night, I will say is a very lucky man. Because he gets to go home to Maurice every night. Maurice was looking quite amazing, quite exquisite on Monday night. I can't hate on The Miz for that. So let's see. We have The Miz. You know, it's funny. You look at his resume in WWE. When he goes into the Hall of Fame eventually, he will have probably one of the most accomplished resumes, just in terms of accomplishments and championships of almost anybody. I mean, you realize all the stuff that he's done. We have The Miz against Edge. What do you think about that as a main event? What do you think? Yeah. We're booking main events here. That might be a bit of a stretch. Edge against The Miz is not going to be a main event on my show. I'm sorry. That might be a good match to stick in hour 2 of Monday Night Raw. Flip on over to the ladies. Let's see. What do you think? You think we get Asuka and Kris Statlander? What are the chances? You probably have a better chance of being struck by lightning than me actually landing on that match here tonight. We begin with... Oh, I love it. My favorite match was with Melina and Alicia Fox. And look at Steve Austin's response in the closed caption. Who? Who? It's our friend Cameron, everybody. It's Cameron. Hey, shout out to Hibiki TMD, who just became a Sound Off superstar. What's going on, Hibiki? There's Beavis on your screen, rocking out with his cock out. There's Cameron. No, I'm not hitting the buzzer yet. I want to see who her opponent is going to be. I need to. Oh, I saw that. I saw that Nikita Lyons in there. Let's see who her opponent is going to be. It is going to be Cameron going one-on-one with Deborah. Fuck no. That is a terrible match. I don't think I could have booked a worse match. That's pretty bad. Cameron and Deborah. That is a horrible match. Man, we are not doing well tonight. We have got to pick things up here with these tag teams. We've got to do better. I have to end on a high note here. We've got to do better than that. Hey, Food Hive, thank you for the $4.99. He says, I asked this teenager to name 2 Ninja Turtles for $20. She said, Mike, Lance, Don, and Eddie. Who the fuck? I hate this generation. Lance? Lance the Ninja Turtle? Where the hell did they get Lance from? What do they think this is? Fucking NSYNC? We have the Alpha Academy. Chad Gable and Otis. Well, Chad Gable is quite great. And I do like a more serious Otis. They are a good team together. We got the Alpha Academy taking on Strike Force. I like that match. I think that'd be a good wrestling match. Strike Force was a very sound, technical team. Rick Martel, former AWA World Champion. Tito had a lot of success too. Former Intercontinental Champion. They were WWF Tag Team Champions. Alpha Academy and Strike Force. You know what? More than a main event, that would have been a great opening match. On some pay-per-view, you put those guys in the ring together for 15 minutes. That would have been a pretty good opening match on a pay-per-view. If you don't know who Strike Force is, you're way too young. You need to go do your homework. Strike Force, they weren't together for that long. They were probably together for about a year and a half, maybe. Although by today's standards, that would be a long time. They were a good team, though. I still can't get over this whole Ninja Turtles, Mike, Lance, Don, and Eddie. Who is this teenager? You said you asked this teenager to name 2 Ninja Turtles. Are you just randomly walking up to teenagers and giving them money? Because that's a little fucking creepy. I'm not going to lie. You better have a damn good story for where you found this teenager. Was it in the restaurant? Was this a cousin of yours? Mr. Dynamite says Rick Martel was a pretty good wrestler. Rick Martel was a very good wrestler. Rick Martel came back in 1998, 97, 98. Had a whole other run in WCW. Was the television champion for a while. And he was on a hell of a run until his knee exploded. I mean, he suffered a terrible knee injury in a match with Booker T. And that was it. That was it. He never came back. That was the end of his career, and he was content. And he went into real estate, and I think he's done that ever since. Doesn't want to be bothered. Makes the occasional appearance, but not too many appearances. Seems to be doing well, doing his own thing, which is good. A lot of wrestlers, they don't know what else to do. They have nothing to fall back on. Martel seems to be in a good place. He should be in the WWE Hall of Fame is where he should be. It's a shame he's not in there. Dry Chicken with the $3. Cameron and Deborah is a 5-star match. Yeah, in other places. I'm sure. In your dreams. Dry Chicken, when you go to bed tonight, you can have all the dreams you want. That's about as close as you're going to get to that. Yeah, Rick Martel's theme. Rick Martel's his theme music as the model. He had some pretty badass theme music. It's like porn music. It would have fit perfect in a pornographic film. I don't know why that made me think of that. I would never watch that smut. Paul Jackson. $5 super chat. Cameron against Deborah or Stephanie McMahon against Rosa Mendez. Oh, boy. I think I would just quit watching wrestling at that point. Mr. J. How would you book Jake Roberts against Mankind in their prime? The promos would tell the story. The real story of their feud would be told through the promos. More than anything else. And I think Jake was always he was such a great heel. He really was. I mean, he was over as a babyface, but he was such a great heel. I don't know, the Mankind character got too silly later on. That's not the version of Mankind I would want against Jake. So Mankind would have to be the heel. Jake would have to be the babyface. And I think it would just be it would be one of these dark, Jake almost having to kind of tap into his dark roots, something along those lines. But the promos would really sell the story between those two more than anything in the ring that they could do together. Darth Panic. Who wins a street fight, Jericho or MVP? Oh, I'm going with MVP. Food Hive. It was my employee's kid. Yeah, that's what you say now. That's what you say now. I'll take your word for it. It better be. EJ Slam. Who's more likely to go into the WWE Hall of Fame first, Gino Hernandez or Dino Bravo? Are both of their shady deaths a reason why they are not in? Yeah, I don't think either one of them are going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And if either one of them ever goes in, it would be Dino, because Dino was in WWE. I mean, WWE, they've put in non-WWE stars before. But Gino Hernandez, I mean, he was very young and he got over in a very short period of time, but he was cut down at such a young age. He never had the chance to develop into a Hall of Famer. So, no, I don't think Gino Hernandez will ever be in the Hall of Fame. Dino Bravo, if he ever goes in, he'll be one of those legacy inductees, and I don't even see that. So, I don't see either one of them ever being in the Hall of Fame, even if they did not have grisly, demises. I mean, I don't see that happening. Juan says, I will personally donate anything to get you a new Sound Off mug. You have to retire the Hofstra mug. Well, I will be retiring the Hofstra mug soon. I'm going to have Sound Off mugs, man. I'm going to open up. I'm in the process of opening up a store separate from the Pro Wrestling Tee store. We'll keep the T-shirts on there, and I think what I'll do is I'll have a separate store, and the mugs will be in there, and maybe there'll be some other items. And if people are interested, then you guys can also pick up an item. But I'll set up a store so I can buy a Sound Off mug for myself. We'll have a black Sound Off logo mug here on the streams. So yes, this won't calm your tits. This won't be around much longer. What do you have against the Hofstra anyway? It's a fine school. It's a fine educational institution. And they make pretty good mugs, too. All right, guys. I'm going to let you go. It's getting late. I want to thank you for all the non-sports people, especially, who don't give a shit about sports, who came and spent your night with me and watched me instead of the ball game. I want to thank you. I will be back with you on Sunday. We got a packed episode coming up, episode 760. A lot of different things to get into, a lot of different things to cover. Roman Reigns, the Stephanie McMahon stuff. We'll talk about Cody and Seth and what they did on Monday. We'll talk about Edge being booted out of his own faction. We'll talk about all the AEW developments this week. The All-Atlantic Championship, another championship being introduced. Toni Storm had some very interesting comments this week about why she left. We've been wondering, what was it that made her leave WWE so suddenly back in December? Well, now we got our answer. We now know the exact reason why she left WWE in the way that she did. And when you hear the story about why, yeah, it wasn't anything salacious or anything, but what happened to her, you can completely understand why she felt, I got to get the hell out of this place. I agree with her 100%. I can totally understand why she felt the need to get out of there. So we're going to talk about that as well. All that coming up on Sunday. Samoan Fan dropping one last super chat here. Not Samoan Fan. Samoan Fan and GCC. GCC 305. I don't give no shits about sports. Thanks, Solo. Well, you got it, brother. You got it. See, he doesn't care about the sports. He doesn't care about that. He only cares about sports entertainment. Samoan fan, add Dr. Ken and Jeremy Piven to tag team Be the Booker. No. I will do no such thing. I'm banishing Jeremy Piven to the Summerfest. You will not be in my Be the Booker. Anyway, I'm out of here, guys. Do me another favor also, if you would, this weekend, and go ahead, if you haven't already done so, download the free Spreaker app. The Solomonster Sounds Off has moved from Podbean to Spreaker. And very excited about this. I know everybody's already migrating over there, and you can listen all the same ways you usually do. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're in all the same places. In fact, I think the shows are still pushing out to Podbean as well, but I need you guys to go download the Spreaker app, follow the show on there, hit the like button, leave comments under the episodes, show your support. Let's show the Spreaker folks that all the Sound Off fans are engaged, and they're making their way over. Again, it's free. I tested it out myself for weeks before this move, and you'll be helping out the show when you do. So very excited about that. And until Sunday, Food Hive says, these pretzels are making me thirsty. I'm actually kind of hungry right now. I might go get some pretzels myself. So be well, stay safe, have yourselves a fantastic weekend. And I will see you guys back here for more Sound Off on Sunday. And, of course, live for the Dynamite stream coming up next Wednesday. Until then, take care, guys.